Hello everyone, I'm Alex Dykes, and today we are inside a 2016 Audi TT Roadster taking a look at the latest Audi infotainment system that you'll find in the TT and very soon in certain other Audi models out there. It's all based around this very large screen over here on the driver's side. This is also acting as the instrument cluster in the Audi TT. This is a little bit different than other Audi models because we actually do not have a separate screen in the center of the dashboard strictly for navigation and infotainment. It's all using the same display. If we go on over to the center console, you'll notice that we have this very typical looking Audi MMI control setup right here. So we have direct access buttons for the navigation, telephone, we have a light that lights up there depending on what mode you're in, contextual buttons, a control wheel with finger writing recognition, menu, and a back button. What's different about this system, however, is right here on the steering wheel. We have essentially those same buttons duplicated on the wheel. So I'm going to move this over to the side, and you can see on that display right there, we can use these arrow buttons to go between the various features. We use this control knob to cycle between the options. We have contextual buttons, left and right, a view button, and a back button. Using the control interface on the steering wheel, you can do everything that you can with the center control, with the exception of finger writing recognition. This operates very similarly to Audi's other MMI systems, so we can access vehicle settings, sound settings, radio settings, etc. right here through this interface, but we can also take a look at our navigation mapping interface right here between the two dials. We click the view button on the steering wheel to expand or contract those dials, so we get a little bit more real estate devoted to that infotainment screen or the navigation screen. You'll notice that on each side we have some little pop-ups, so there's three little lines over here on the left and this little plus button right over here on the right. That lets you know that you can use the contextual buttons on the controller. So if we're over here on the map, you can actually switch to a destination input, see traffic messages, etc. We can click on the other one. We can get map settings, route, criteria, voice guidance, navigation settings, that sort of thing. Once we're in this interface, everything operates very similarly to Audi's other systems. So we can actually enter a destination right here and type in an address or have it Google search, all from the same interface. And you can use the finger writing recognition. So in this interface, we simply write what we want to do. So we see there's borrowlenses.com right in there, and it's a previously used destination. We can just click on over to that, or find it with Google if it didn't know where that was. It'll give us three different route options. You can select the right one. It'll also show you traffic information on that screen. And this is the same screen where you'll find turn-by-turn navigation instructions, as well as this 3D moving map with satellite information. The satellite imagery is one of the more interesting features about MMI, and we still get it even in this version of the software. Navigation destination entry is very easy in this software, either natural voice commands or that interface. We also get the benefit of having that internet connected feature, which of course you will have to pay for after a set period of time with your new vehicle. You notice we do have this LTE strength gauge right down here. That's for the car's built-in cell modem. Over here on the telephone interface, we do have our fairly typical Bluetooth phone interface. Again, we have a contextual menu over there on the left, so we can actually see text messages, our directory, our favorites, etc. We can collapse that back here, and we can actually dial numbers right here on this pad. Of course, the next option over is our infotainment option, and this is where you'll find things like your Bluetooth interface, your iPod interface, Sirius satellite radio, that sort of thing going on here. We again have more contextual menus, so we click over to the left. This is where you'll find artists, albums, genres, tracks, playlists, etc. So we can just click on our playlist right over here. We can actually pick a playlist and then choose our song and have it play right there in the system. You notice we have full ability to navigate our iPod or our media device with the controls on the steering wheel itself. We can again click the view button and have things expand or contract, as you see in some of the other interface areas. Going over to the right, this is where you'll find things like sound settings, change your playing position, repeat track, shuffle on, off, that sort of thing. Clicking our contextual menu once more to the left, you'll notice that we actually have some little grayed out icons right over here to the left of that selection. That's because we can click it to the left once more, and we can actually change our media device right there in that same interface. You'll find your Bluetooth interface, your Wi-Fi interface, all those various things right there inside. At the very top of the list is change to radio. If we click this option, this will move us on over to Sirius XM and our last played interface right there. You can see we're on that particular station. We can click once more to the left, and this is where you'll find your last station's presets. You can switch between AM, FM, and your satellite radio. Of course, the very last option is our very typical trip computer interface inside this system. We get a little bit more detail than we do in your typical Audi models, because we have our average right up here, we have our long-term memory that we can actually scroll through long-term and short-term, our date and time over here, etc. We get our little TT icon on the right side with our oil temperature, and then we can actually click over to the left to get additional displays. You can choose what you want to see in here. date driven, distance, time, etc. Now if you choose these particular displays right here, so for instance our distance driven display, and we click the view button, you'll notice that distance driven goes to the inside of the tachometer. And that means that when we switch back on over to our navigation interface, for instance, you'll notice that this will stay there. So if I hit the view button again, that expands. Now we have distance driven on the inside there. So that's all controlled all the way over here on this side with the trip computer information over there on the right. You can choose that additional display and see what you want to see out of that right there. Now clicking on over to the left is where you'll find things like your onboard computer. That's what we were on right there. But you'll also find our Audi Drive Select options. We can see our vehicle settings, and you can adjust basically everything you can with the traditional MMI system right here in the same display. Our driver assistance settings, even air conditioning, and you can check your service history and see when you next need to stop. This iteration of Audi's MMI system is very unique because, again, if I pan over here to the center of the dashboard, you'll notice we don't have any infotainment screen right there. Absolutely everything is right over here on the driver's side. That means that if your passenger wants to change things, enter a destination, change your media device, etc., they do have to look over here to the driver's side. That's not quite as convenient as it could be with a central display. Now personally I found this a tiny bit more distracting than a display that's mounted right up here, a little bit higher off the dashboard and a little bit closer to my typical line of vision while I'm driving. Now I'd probably get used to it over time, but that is something that I did notice while trying to use the system for a week. This is the most fully featured and probably the most attractive LCD instrument cluster that I have seen so far. Now on the flip side, it is not quite as configurable as we see in Cadillac CUE. So Cadillac CUE, you can change the personality of the display a little bit more than we can here. Here we don't really see much of a personality change or skin change available. However, you do see a lot more information on this display than we see in the Cadillac system, and it does an awful lot more. Thanks for taking the time to check out this video. Be sure and check out the complete review on the 2016 Audi TT on my channel as well, and I'll see you next week.